Alright guys, so we are now back with another Glock Gen 6 review. And today we're going to be looking at the optics plate and, mounting a few different optics on it, the pros of it, the cons of it that we're already seeing, and, my overall thoughts about the new change from the original MOS to what it is now, and how Glock, in my personal opinion, could have done better about a few things. So let's go ahead and take and unscrew these screws off the top of the optics plate. We've taken out the top plate. As you can see, it is just polymer. They switched to polymer plates pretty much from what I can tell about around the 2022, 23 era. Polymer seals better, but it's also cheaper to make than the metal. To my knowledge, it is anyway. So once again, just a polymer plate. So we can take that off and we can see the new cut on the slide as well. Here is a Turn Tactical Glock 34 Gen 5. And you can see here we have the Forward Controls Design plate on it. So a little bit different. Obviously, this is not a stock Glock, but as you can see here, this is the new cut on it in of itself. So you have three different plates that come with it from factory. You have the 02, the 04, and the 03. I'll actually put in the thing right now what they all are for, but we will be using the 02 today for the Trujicon RMR and the other one we're looking at here, the RMR HD. So as you can see here, we now have this inserted. All you have to do once again is lower the back of it down first, and then snaps right into place. As you can see, it's pretty flat already, but let's go ahead and mount up the Trujicon RMR. So this is the normal RMR, the original one. I think this is actually a green dot, but regardless of the fact, it's just the original RMR, but something we are already seeing. So if you turn around and look at it here, you can see that the rubber is showing, so it doesn't have a good seal. So what do we do now to fix this? Well, you've got a few different options. Number one option is get a plate sealer that will go in between the Glock plate and the RMR. But, it's kind of funny. I was, expecting Glock to maybe redesign this just a tad bit to where you could just go a straight mount from RMR to a Glock, which, there's some optics that are slimmer than a Glock and other ones that are still thicker than a Glock, and I guess we can't have our plate or our cake and eat it too, per se. And I've looked everywhere in the house for a sealer plate for this RMR because, truthfully speaking, I'd rather have it on here than the RMR HD. But something else that we looked at as well, as you can see with the RMR mounted, you have a very wide gap between the optic and the slide, and a decent sized gap between the optic and the slide here. So what that means is all that recoil is coming back on your spring or your screws itself, and the recoil trusses here that are embedded into the actual RMR itself. So could have done something a little bit different on that. Now let's go ahead and look at the RMR HD, which does have a plate on it. So we go ahead and put this on here, mount it up. As you can see, you still have the same gap with the RMR HD in the front and in the back. Obviously, we knew it would happen because they're pretty much the same footprint, but where it has a plate on it, obviously you can see that we don't have to worry about any type of sealant. So the RMR HD will actually get us as low as possible, with the RMR, but we will still have to change our backup iron sights out. So we've already got our Loctite on our screws, so let's go ahead and screw them down a little bit. And plus two, after the video is done, we will go ahead and retouch them up. So this is just a pretty much crash course on changing your optics out on your Glock. But if you're using a optic that already has a plate in the bottom of it to where the gun itself or the optic itself is sealed up, then you have nothing to worry about. But if you're running like me, the tried and true Trujicon RMR, you're going to have to get you a sealant plate. Like I said, I've looked everywhere in the house. I could have swore at one point I have one, but I guess I don't. So as you can see here, though, with the RMR HD, you still have plenty of coverage, though it's not over the ejection port, so that's good to see. We shouldn't have any type of problems with that or anything like that. And here is your co-witness, which is none. So once again, we're going to be changing out the optic or the sights itself before the full review for the 1,000 round review. But right now, once again, this is just a crash course on mounting a optic to the new Gen 6. So in my opinion, what do I think about it? It's an interesting design, don't get me wrong, especially with these plates that come in two and match up. But if you wanted my honest opinion, I think they probably should have done it like Breda. Breda actually has a few different side plates that are will mount pretty much any sight there is. And yes, there is a few differences here and there, and it does look like a big landing pad. But something else, not really talking about the Performance Center, but something else that Brett had done back in the day, especially with the M9A4s, is that once you got your gun in, you could scan a code, just like this one right here that Glock provided in the box. You could scan this code, and you could tell Beretta exactly what plate you wanted, and they sent you the exact plate that was mounted for your Optic itself. So say, for instance, I bought this Glock, and I'm like, hey, you know, the plate I need is a Truthcon RMR plate. Well, they could have sent me a plate that at least would have covered everything here. And, you know, once again, it's kind of hard to design the gun around the Optic or the Optic around the gun, but most common people are still running for heavy duty usage. That's police, military, whatever else, but mainly police are still running Truthcon RMRs, RMR HDs, and RCRs. So, you know, I wish they would have thought that through, because, like I said, I don't have a sealant plate here at the house, and I don't think my local gun store has one either. So it'd have been the same difference as ordering a sealant plate or just ordering one straight from Glock that works with this one from factory. But one thing I can say is that I can already see the wheels turning pretty quickly and some of these manufacturers' heads, and I can see or foresee pretty quickly somebody coming out with a new plate or aftermarket plate for these Gen 6 Glocks. So once again, this is the Terran Tactical Glock 34 Gen 5 John Wick Edition, and this is the you know, the Forward Control Designs plate, and I can very well see, obviously, that they're going to end up coming out with something. And, you know, it could be something as simple as, you know, not giving them free ideas, but something as simple as, you know, instead of having this right here and it being polymer, maybe it could be metal, exactly how it needs to be made, and then, you know, come out a little bit further. And, you know, it will rise it up a little bit. And I understand what Glock was trying to do, and that's get the Optic as low as possible. But, you know, a sealant plate could fix it very easily, like I said. But I can see as well how some of these aftermarket companies will end up making a plate to where it will come out a little bit further and seal up your entire gun. So at least I can see that's going to be in the near future. But for now, upon release, or actually a few days before release, this is the best we have so far. But once again, still interesting. But one thing I will say for certain, that I know that these companies will make, like Forward Control Design, C&H plates, will make a plate that actually comes up in the behind and in front of the Glock, so that way it gives a little bit more, or the Optic, that way it gives a little bit more you know, pressure to ride on, and not just them screws and the recoil trusses for the RMR or RMR HD itself. But as it goes, here it is. So, well, once again, we're going to have to keep this one mounted, or until at least I can find a sealant plate for this RMR for the 1,000 round review. You know, the MOS change out, it's kind of a headache right now, because, like I said, I've got 5 or 6 of these plates here downstairs and, you know, in my office, versus now I've got to find a whole entire new plate system. So once again, I understand they're trying to get ahead, but this is one that in my opinion is kind of a, you know, letdown. I think that they could have probably done it just a tad bit better. But once again, that's my opinion. What is yours? I want to hear from you. Leave it in the comment section below. And if there's anything else that you can think whenever it comes to questions for the Gen 6 Glock 17 and all the new Gen 6 Glocks, please leave in the comment section below and get back to you as soon as possible, or we might even make a video about it. So guys, appreciate y'all viewing as always. Like and subscribe for more gun reviews, and I'll see y'all in the next video.